welcome to Little Literati. I'm Jess, and this is the beginning of May, and I'm so excited for May this year. I've been looking forward to this for months now, and I personally get to travel at least twice this month, and in fact, I get to go on my first trip tomorrow. I get to fly out without my kids or my husband. I'm going to fly down to Phoenix tomorrow morning. I'm going to spend 4 days with my sister, and I get to spend time with my parents and my sister, and on Thursday I'm going to the Sarah J. Maas book signing for A Court of Wings and Ruin, so I'm very excited about that. And speaking of, this beautiful paperback version of A Court of Mist and Fury arrived in the mail today, and I've been stroking it and crooning over it all day. All afternoon, really. It showed up at about 3, but I'm so excited. It's so pretty. So I am rereading this month the first 2 books, and in fact I'm about a third of the way through A Court of Thorns and Roses, again, that I started this morning, so that I can have it all fresh in my mind when I read A Court of Wings and Ruin later this week, because I'm so excited, but I want to make sure that I don't miss things like I have in previous videos and books where I've missed things that were kind of crucial to the storyline. So I loved these books when I read them a few months ago. Some of my favorite books ever. I've been looking forward to this seriously for like 6 months now, and now that I get to have the second one, the my set looks so pretty. I'm so excited to have them. So I'll be reading the whole trilogy, but I only have the first 2 in my hand right now because the third one is waiting for me down in Phoenix with my ticket to the event. I have already read this month. I read it yesterday, Sorcerer to the Crown, but I will talk about it at the wrap-up video at the end of the month. And this one I was a little nervous about just because the dragon on the cover looked more like an oriental dragon, and it seemed a little odd that it was going to take... I couldn't wrap my head around the fact it was going to take place in the Regency time period. So even though I knew that was when it was going to take place, I just, for some reason, it wasn't connecting in my brain until I actually sat down and started reading it. And I started actually reading it on the sample, the first couple of chapters on Amazon, where they have the description and they have the first couple chapters to kind of get you hooked. So I was reading through that, and it was late and I was in bed trying to go to sleep and reading that little, 2-chapter blurb, and it stopped at a really crucial point. I was like, well, that's really sneaky of the author to end the chapter right there. I mean, it makes sense, but it's really sneaky and kind of evil. No, that's not where the book ends, but I think it's just how, I think Amazon had just reached their allotment of words that they were allowed to show. But anyway, the book itself was really a lot of fun, actually. And so I've read several books in the Regency era that talks about magic and sorcery in that time period and alternate versions of history. And this one was different from any of the others. They've all been unique and distinct in their own ways, but this one was really a lot of fun. Focus a little bit more on familiars. I have seen it compared to Susanna Clarke's Mr. Norrell and Jonathan Strange, or whatever the order of the title is. I tried reading that a couple of years ago, and I just hated it. I got halfway through and I just could not force myself to keep reading that book. It was so dry and so long and nothing happened, and what did happen was just reprehensible, and I hated it so much. So I can see how people can kind of compare it to this, because somewhat similar events kind of take place in certain ways, but this one was a lot more fun than that one, and it was a lot more lighthearted than that one. And so yes, I can kind of see where people are comparing it, but this one shot that one out of the water, and this one was so much more fun. So I really enjoyed Sorcerer to the Crown. I'm really sort of hoping that I can get it this month, like, I don't know, say for Mother's Day, or something like that. Hint, hint. Honey. This book also arrived in the mail today. Stars Above. This is a collection of short stories that take place in the Lunar Chronicles universe. There are 9 of them, 5 of them that have never been published before. So this just barely got released in paperback today, and so I get to add this to my collection of the Lunar Chronicles books. I'm planning on reading this later in the month when I'll be driving, because at the end of the month, my whole family will be driving to Idaho for my brother's wedding, and so we're going to be spending a lot of time in the car. And so I figure I can read a short story at a time before I get motion sick and then have to take a break, and then I can read another little snippet. So having short stories in here I think will really help a lot with that, instead of just getting sucked into a whole novel but feeling miserable the whole trip. So Stars Above is something I'm looking forward to the end of the month as a fun way to pass the time. This next book is something I got at my daughter's school book fair. They tend to coincide the book fairs with the parent-teacher conferences, and she's the only one in school right now, but we have set up a family tradition that if we get a good report from our kids' teachers, then they get to go and pick out a book on us from the book fair. So this is not the book she picked out. She picked out a little kid book, Uni the Unicorn, which is really cute, and she loved it. But I saw this on the shelf, and I was like, you know what? This would be really fun for our family. I think this would be really fun to read aloud, because this is about Princess Anya, who has apparently the ability to break curses with kisses that are not necessarily love-induced, and she is plagued by her stepmother and her stepfather. And we've already read a couple of chapters as a family before bedtime. We're on chapter 3 right now. But so far it's really a lot of fun. The writing style is very engaging, very silly, and my husband and I laugh sometimes even when the kids don't get why something's funny. We think it's hilarious, and so I'm looking forward to reading this together as a family. Hopefully we'll get the whole thing finished by the end of the month, but I'm not too concerned with that one. We're just reading this just to have fun. So Frog Kisser looks like a lot of fun. Plus it's by the same author who wrote the Sabriel book and the whole series, which I still haven't finished, but I did read Sabriel and I liked his writing style. But this is a lot more fun even than that one. So Frog Kisser is something I'm really excited for this month. These next couple I did not finish from last month because I owned them, and so I was trying to get through several of the library books that I had checked out because I didn't want to have to keep them for a whole month, especially when I was going to be traveling so many times, because it was just going to be more than I wanted to keep track of. So I was not as good about reading my own books as I probably should have been. So I did not read Phantom of the Opera last month, but I'm hoping that I can squeeze this in between other books, because I am wanting to reread it. I am excited to reread it. I just had other things that seemed more pressing at the time. So hopefully I can squeeze this in and be excited about reading it. Be as excited about reading it as I think I am. Because sometimes that happens. Sometimes I bite off more than I can chew, and my enthusiasm does not follow it all the way through. So, The Phantom of the Opera is something I do want to read. I just need to remind myself that I want to read it. Same thing goes with this Jane book. This is a modern day retelling of Jane Eyre. I am still very, very nervous about reading this because Jane Eyre is my favorite classic ever. I'm really afraid that this will ruin it. So I'm trying to go into this with an open mind, but I'm very, very nervous. And so I keep telling myself, but it's just a really short book. So really, even if it's terrible, how much damage can they do in such a small book? But they could probably do some really bad things to it. So I'm really very nervous, but on the other hand, it could be awesome. It could be great. Who knows? I won't know until I read it. So I have to admit, some of the ratings on Goodreads were not flattering. All of the ratings that came up when I was adding it to my wanted to read list were 1-star reviews, which just adds to my worry and anxiety about it. But again, who knows? Everyone's different, so I might really love it. We'll see. So hopefully I can work up the enthusiasm to get this read this month. This next book is a library book that I wasn't able to get to last month, and I was looking at it in the bookstore, and then I saw somebody mention it online too. So The Great Hunt, I'm trying to remember where I saw it mentioned. Inspired by the Grimm brothers' tale, The Singing Bone. I really like dark ballads, and a couple of videos ago I shared a video of my middle daughter, who is 4, retelling the ballad of the Trois Sisters, which is a very dark ballad that I love. It's one of my favorites ever, about the two sisters who fight over a man, and the older sister drowns her sister, and then the younger sister's body is turned into a harp that magically sings the truth of what happened to her and the murder that her sister inflicted upon her. And just the dark grittiness of the story just is really fun for me. I love it. And I have 2 musical versions of it on my iPod that I've been playing in the car. And one is The Cruel Sister by Old Blind Dogs, and the other one is Bonnie Swines by Lorena McKennett. So 2 entirely different versions of essentially the same story. A very similar themed story is The Singing Bone. In that one, it's brothers. But again, I don't think he gets turned into a harp. I think he gets turned into like a pipe or something like that instead. But anyway, it's a similar theme. So the soul of the dead sings the story of what happened to them to cause their death. And it's accepted in folkloric tradition that singing bones cannot lie. And so if someone were to be accused by a harp or a pipe or whatever made by the body parts of the dead, then that counts as absolute testimony and it's absolute truth. So I was reading the synopsis on this, The Great Hunt. It sounds like it has nothing whatsoever to do with that fairy tale, but I don't know. I'm really excited about it because the story itself sounded interesting, even if it doesn't have anything to do with that story. But if it does, I think that would just make it even better because, like I said, it's pretty much one of my favorite stories of all time. So, The Great Hunt is something I'm looking forward to eventually sometime this month. I'm not sure when between all the travelings. And then it doesn't help that the 3rd week of the month I'm going to be chaperoning my daughter's school for the entire week. They're doing a week-long activity and I'm volunteering to drive and to chaperone, and so I don't know when I'll get a chance to read all these, but I'm looking forward to all of these. This next one is A Crown of Wishes. I actually bought this from Book Depository, but I was really disappointed when it arrived. It was a lot bigger than I expected because I didn't read the fine print that said it was the international edition that is gigantic. So this does not even look like it will go with my copy of The Star-Touched Queen. Also, but I could kind of live with that, but I was not happy that when it arrived, I pulled it out of the package and saw that the bottom half of the book was water damaged, and like a third of the pages were still damp, which seems weird since it takes 8 days to get here. Whatever, but you can see the pages are all wrinkly. So I will not be reading this copy of this book because I'm returning it, but I have a library copy that is arriving. It's actually in transit right now, so it will be here for sure when I'm back from my trip, and so I get to read that. It's the sequel to The Star-Touched Queen. I'm really looking forward to reading the story because I loved that one so much, and I'm excited to see what she does with Gowry, the little sister, who becomes a princess of her kingdom. And so I'm excited to see and learn about new fairy tales and new myths that I'm not familiar with because I loved it so much in the first book. So, Crown of Wishes. These next couple I did mention in my last one, and again, just didn't get around to reading them. So this is The Princess and the Hound, which is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And then East, which is East of the Sun, West of the Moon. So I talked about those, I think, in my last TBR video. So if you want more about that, go to that video. This next one, oh dear, that slides right off, is Given to the Sea by Mindy McGinnis. This is my fairy loot box for the month of April. And I came across this a couple of months ago, actually before the end of the year. And I saw that it was coming out and it looked really It reminds me kind of, at least the cover and the basic premise, rang bells that reminded me of Andromeda and Perseus. So I don't know if this is at all going to echo any of that storyline, but I am a sucker for Greek mythology, so if it has anything to do with Andromeda and Perseus-esque characters, then I think this will be a lot of fun. The premise itself, the description in here, also sounds interesting. So, I don't know. I'll have to see. But Given to the Sea was something that I wanted to read months ago, and so when it finally arrived, I was hoping it was going to be the book of the month, and it was, and so I was really excited about that. So Given to the Sea is something I'm looking forward to eventually. So if you're my reading buddy, hold out. I'm not going to get to it this week. Hopefully next week when I get back from my trip, which is going to be Saturday. So I'll probably start reading this Sunday or Monday. This is The Upside of Unrequited. This was my Owl Crate book for the month of April. I have to say, I was actually really hoping this wouldn't be the book. I kind of thought it might be, but I was really hoping it wouldn't be, just because I am not really a fan of contemporary teen romances, because they just aren't my cup of tea anymore. I feel like I've sort of outgrown them, because they all seem to follow a certain formula. But I do own it now, so I feel like I should at least give it a try. So I will read this probably towards the end of the month, just because I'm more excited about other books on my list this month. But I will try to get around to this, and hopefully I'll be really surprised, because everybody that I've seen or talked to has really loved Becky Albertalli's first book, Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. And so I know everyone loves her, but I just, again, it's not, the genre is not something that I tend to go for. But I'm hoping I'll be surprised very pleasantly, and that I will fall in love with this book too, just like everyone else seems to be. So, Upside of Unrequited. And this last book is the sequel to Six of Crows that I did read in April. And this is the sequel, Crooked Kingdom. This one is a little bit longer than the first one, by about, I think, 100 pages. And it also has the fun colored pages of red this time. But I did really enjoy Six of Crows. So even though this one's a little bit longer and is going to seem kind of daunting, it's not going to be nearly as long as A Court of Wings and Ruin. And I am thrilled to be reading that one. So I'm hoping that I will fly through some of these, because I've enjoyed the story so much that I won't notice how long the books are. So Crooked Kingdom is something that seems very dark, but I think it'll be enjoyable, and that I will like the book itself, because stuff did kind of end on a crucial note in the last one, and so I want to see how events go down and how revenge gets dealt and how the crap hits the fan. So excited to read Crooked Kingdom. So that is my stack for May. It's kind of a hefty one. I'm planning on reading several. 15 or so books. I think I have another one also on hold at the library. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to that one, or even if it'll come out beforehand. But about 15 books this month. This is just counting these books, of course. I also, like I said, in the car, we'll be in the car for a very long time. And I also have on audiobook the entire series of the Fablehaven books. Because at my local Deseret Book, I pre-ordered the hardcover of Dragon Watch, which is, I guess, the book that's kind of a sequel to the series of Fablehaven. And if I pre-ordered that book, I got a 20% discount, I think, and then also got the entire first series for free on audiobook. It's like, well, I can't pass that up. There's no way I could pass that up. So I have them on my phone, and I think we could probably listen to those in the car too. So I might be able to squeeze in a couple of audiobooks while we're traveling, but I have 15 here in print that I'm hoping to get in, and then we'll just kind of touch base at the end of the month and see which ones we actually got around to, because it is going to be kind of a crazy month, but full of fun, and I'm so excited. So let me know if you've read any of these books, and let me know what you think about them. Please let me know what you're reading this month. I would love to exchange notes and see what you're excited about as well. And in the meantime, read amazing books, and we will see you at the end of the month. Thank you.